Hello Capricorn, and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. We'll be pulling for all three sides of the connection, so we'll look at your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it. The concept being that there are three sides to every story, so we're looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section we'll be looking at what is the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. On that note, and especially if you are a cross watcher, just know that this whole reading can be reversed. If that is the case for you, that is totally fine and totally normal. Again, the point is to take what helps and leave what doesn't. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Capricorn, we're going to jump on in. We're going to start with looking at overall energy through oracle cards first. So we're going to look at your energy, the person that you're dealing with energy, and the energy in between the connection with oracle cards first, and then we'll dive deeper into the story with tarot as we progress. So let's dive in here. Let's start with your side of this connection, Capricorn. Capricorn's energy toward the person they are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. Remember, this doesn't just have to be romantic. This can be any kind of love connection in your life, platonic, familial, and yes, obviously romantic. Separation and then reciprocity. You gave and gave and gave and gave in this connection. And I think that you kind of gave so much to the point where you really weren't sure what else you could do here. And obviously the connection is in separation as things stand right now. And I think for you, there's this energy around this that feels very depleted. And I think that a big part of that is because you did show up with, everything that you have here. And it seemed like it wasn't enough in the end. And I think that that's made things really hard for you in general, because it's like, if I gave everything that I have and it's not enough, does that mean that what I have isn't enough? It is. Absolutely it is. I think that there's more to this than, it's not so black and white here. Let's look at this person's energy toward you. Friendship. Okay, synchronicity. I want one more. Deja vu, and then the underlying is grief and sadness here. So, okay, this makes a lot of sense here. It feels like on your side of things, the way that you showed up for this connection, there was a lot of depth. There was a lot of commitment. There was a lot of kind of emotional investment here. And it feels like this person, the way that they showed up in this connection was very surface level, almost as if it wasn't, they weren't meeting you where you really wanted to be met. And although I do feel, I don't necessarily feel like this person has negative intentions. Like, I don't feel that at all. I feel like this person doesn't know how to go deeper. It's almost like they live their life on the surface, especially when it comes to their relationships. With this deja vu card, I feel like this is, this person is in a place of like frustration around their relationships, because I feel like they crave that depth, but it's almost like they also keep it at a distance. Like, they don't allow that depth to fully be uncovered, which means that most of their relationships aren't able to reach their full potential. And I think that that's something that is really frustrating to them, but I also don't know if they fully realize like what the reasoning is. Because I think that like with this synchronicity card, like what I'm getting from this is I feel like they think about this connection a lot, like they do have feelings for it, but it's almost like they're frustrated with how they showed up, even though how they showed up was like their conscious decision. So I don't know. I don't necessarily know what, actually I want to take this instead. What happened here? It's like, yeah, they're frustrated with, I was going to put those up. What am I doing? Let's look at the truth of the connection between you and this person here, Capricorn. Grief and sadness. And that's what's interesting is I feel like both people are at this place when it comes to this connection. Like both people are disappointed. And I think that that's what's really hard for you because you're like, well, it didn't have to be this way. Like things could have been different. So I don't understand, why. And then growth here. Oh, I like that. Look at the difference in flowers here. It's like this, this sad kind of darker energy to this bright, like blooming energy here. I feel like this connection is pushing both people to grow here, pushing both people to, address certain things within themselves. But I also feel like this is an energy that has to be opted into. Not everybody chooses the path of growth. Growth is conscious, it's intentional. It's not something that, you just kind of stumble into. It doesn't just happen. So I don't know, I think that when it comes to this connection, there is kind of a purpose. I feel like you and this person did meet for a reason. I feel like there's a purpose for this in both of your journeys and paths. But I don't necessarily know like what the depth of that is yet. So we'll see as we continue. Overall theme of this reading, Capricorn, between you and this person. I feel regret here, but I don't know where it's coming from. It might be from both. You might be like, I regret giving so much, and this person, regrets maybe things that they did. I don't know. Overall theme of this between Capricorn and this person. Because like this grief and sadness card is kind of giving the same energy as the Five of Cups, and within that energy, I think, I often get regret. Not that they regret the connection, that's not what I mean. But like behavior or lessons are being taught. I mean, we saw that. This is literally, I feel like these are almost the exact same energies here. This growth card and this lessons are being taught card, both kind of having this blooming flower energy, which I feel like might be hard for you, especially if you're struggling a lot with how this connection has unfolded. What else here? So there's a deeper purpose. There's more to this connection than meets the, no? Okay, I like when cards flip all the way over, hit the table. You don't think of me. I feel like what's really hard is the way that this person acted in this connection. I feel like it, to you, felt like they didn't care about the connection or they didn't value it as much as you did. And I don't think that that's true at all, actually. I think that there's something more to the story and to what's really going on here than just like, oh, they didn't care, so they acted a certain way. And that's the thing. There's always more to people's behavior and why they do things, right? And I think when we can kind of break down what's really going on, we can take a step back and start to see things a little bit clearer, which can help us on our journey moving forward to in whatever way, is best for us. So I think, as things stand right now, I think that there's a lot of confusion on your end here, Capricorn. I think especially because there's this, I don't understand why, I wasn't enough, or why what I had to give wasn't enough for this person. At least for the collective I'm reading for, that's kind of the energy I'm picking up on, which is maybe where that regret's coming from. I regret giving so much. I regret pouring into this. I wish that I never met this person so I didn't have to go through this, things of that nature. But then I also feel like there is a flip side to it where I do feel like I don't think the things in this were necessarily all bad or anything. But let's look, Capricorn, at your side of this here. Capricorn's energy. I don't know whose decision the separation was, but I do feel like you feel like it was very out of your control. You either felt like you had no choice but to walk away, or this person walked away. I'm not really sure. The World. This is some sort of I'm getting kind of a past life cycle. So there might be something karmic about this. The Five of Wands. I think you really go back and forth when it comes to that. And this was kind of what I was getting. It's I think that there is a lot of anger and frustration here because of how things unfolded. But I also think that it's but I do really care about this person. There are a lot of good things here that keep you struggling ultimately with almost how you feel about this. And I think that there are times where you're I wish I could just shut this out of my memory. And then there are maybe times where you're man, I really miss this connection and I miss how things were. And I think that the hard part for you too is also seeing feeling as if it never fully did grow into its full potential, which makes you feel almost like you didn't get to experience what you saw possible here, even though you tried so hard. Let's get more. Ten of Cups in reverse, Ace of Wands. I think that there are still feelings here on your side. And even if you don't want there to be, you're there's still kind of a draw or a pull toward this connection. The Ten of Cups in reverse is kind of it's about expectations. I feel like this person, and I think that this is, it's almost to say the least in a way. I do feel like this person did not match up to the expectations that were set at the beginning. Maybe there were kind of, promises made. Maybe in the beginning there was all this excitement and hope for the connection, and then it just kind of feels like this person didn't really show up for their end of the deal, if you will. And I think that that's where the anger is it's because I do feel well, I don't know if you know that this person cares about you. I was going to say, I feel like you know that they do. I feel like deep down you know that they do, but then the way that they show up makes you think wow, this person literally doesn't care about me at all. But I don't think that that's the case. I think that I don't know yet, actually, because their energy does feel very confusing. Capricorn side of the connection. You could be dealing with a water sign. This is Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio here. But I also feel in this instance here, Capricorn, you carried a lot of empathy and emotional intelligence, I guess is a good way of saying that in this connection. So it feels there, kind of was this you, how do I say this? You were able to understand this person. There's a lot of empathy and deeper understanding going on here. So I feel because of that, it's almost as if you were able to understand why they weren't showing up or why they were, acting the way that they were or whatever the case is. And I think that this Queen of Cups energy, especially that you carry here, is very, it's very warm. It's a very, let me take care of you. nurturing kind of energy. And I feel almost as if you weren't, I don't want to say like fully appreciated for that or reciprocated. I mean, yeah, you will literally have reciprocity. And it doesn't mean you were perfect. Like, I'm not like, oh, you were perfect and this person messed everything up. But I do feel like when it comes to how you showed up in this connection, I feel like you really did show up with a lot of warmth, with a lot of genuine intention here. Okay. 6 of Wands in reverse. It almost feels as if you feel, because you have the 5 of Pentacles, like you failed here, or, and this is going back to what I was saying, like what you brought wasn't enough. You weren't enough, or you didn't try hard enough, or you didn't do enough. And I feel like it's important that you flip your perspective of that, because what you brought was enough. I mean, even when you're not perfect, you're still enough. So I don't know necessarily what happened here and, you know, what ultimately went down, but I do definitely feel as if, I said this already, there's something kind of karmic about it. And karma doesn't necessarily, and oh my gosh, yeah, it's funny, right as I said karmic, I saw the Wheel of Fortune in reverse, which is, this to me is always kind of representing some karmic energy, which karma just means there's a lesson. And I talked about kind of the past life energy here, which, you know, when you have those past life cycles or connections, when you first meet that person, it feels almost as if you've known them forever, where you're like, oh my gosh, this is so familiar. And there's a reason for that. It's almost as if you've been in that experience before. Let's look at this person's energy toward you, synchronicity with friendship. And maybe this isn't literally about a friendship. But I feel like regardless, it just feels as if you were always really wanting more from this person. Effort and commitment and emotional connection, availability, things of that nature. You were just kind of feels like with the one giving and, you know, this person kind of being the one taking. But let's see here what's going on. This person's energy toward you. Well, right out of the gate. Sun in reverse. And then there's the Queen of Pentacles. And I think this is your energy here. When I talk about Queen of Pentacles, King of Pentacles, and I say it's your energy or their energy, it doesn't matter whether it's male or female. We all have feminine and masculine energies within us, but I feel like this is just kind of representative. I feel like this person, it's like they almost think that you'd be happier without them. Or they think you're happier without them, even though I don't necessarily think that's true. But the Sun in reverse also really represents ego. Ooh, okay. King of Cups in reverse. Justice in reverse. Knight of Pentacles, yeah, upright. This is really interesting. So I feel like, oh, okay, 7 of Swords. And then 2 of Pentacles upright. Oh, with the 2 of Cups. Okay. This King of Cups in reverse is kind of the opposite of that Queen of Cups energy that we saw over here, where I was talking about kind of emotional intelligence and, warmth. This King of Cups in reverse is it's emotionally kind of stunted, emotional immaturity, which means there's probably a lot of really irrational behavior, or almost as if they respond to their emotions in a really intense and aggressive way, almost as if there's not, much processing and more so just like really reacting. So it feels like what happens is, because I think that this connection is something that you both understand was real, like it has depth to it. But that's something that this person didn't really know how to deal with. I feel like because things were so intense here and so just emotional, like it just feels like this was very much just a very emotionally driven connection. It's something that this person, like I said, didn't really know how to handle. And that's where I feel like this sun in reverse energy is really coming from, because our ego, its primary goal is survival. It's not here to, it's here to keep us alive. Its primary goal is to keep us alive. So it does that by keeping us in spaces that it knows it can survive. And the ego isn't the enemy, but it is a problem when we allow it to fully control our decision making, when we allow it to, make decisions that don't actually align with our highest good. For instance, if we want, love and depth and intimacy, that is the opposite of the ego, because, the opposite of control is vulnerability. And it feels like this person really, really struggles with vulnerability. And I think a big part of that comes from, there's probably a past there, a past of getting hurt, a past of, feeling like they can't trust other people. And that doesn't have anything to do with you. And I think that that's what was so hard for you, is you weren't understanding why what you were bringing and giving to this connection wasn't enough. But it wasn't that what you were bringing wasn't enough. I think that this person is carrying a lot of things that they haven't dealt with, and we're very much projecting on the connection. This Justice in Reverse card, this is where things become a problem, because there's not accountability here. There's not a recognition of the role that they played, at least when it comes to understanding why things unfolded. Like, I think that they made a lot of decisions that were very kind of self-sabotagey, maybe creating arguments or, creating distance for really no reason other than that helped their, them maintain control. It's easier, to not be vulnerable if I keep this person at a distance. If I create an argument, that creates distance. I don't have to deal with the vulnerability and the uncomfortable aspects of this if I keep this surface level, if I keep this at a distance, right? Which was the whole thing, keeping this at a surface level. And then when it doesn't work, kind of going, man, I really wish this connection worked, yet the decisions that they were making to keep the connection surface level is the reason that it didn't work. And I think that, there's almost this disconnect between understanding the role that they play in their connections that keep them from being able to really have the types of relationships that they do desire here. The Seven of Swords energy, I feel like this person is really a closed book. Like, they are not open. They're not, I don't want to say they're not honest. Maybe there's some dishonesty here, but I more feel like it's like they keep their cards close to their chest. Like, they don't tell you how they're feeling or where they're at. Like, they really shut you out. This isn't just you, though. This is anybody in their life. And I think that it's really challenging for both people, because here's the thing. This person's at this place of disconnection with themselves, right? They crave this Two of Cups. They want this Two of Cups. They want the depth. They want the intimacy. They want what it is that they, ultimately saw possible in this connection. But the way that they show up is just not at a level that is necessary to be able to fully have what it is that they desire. The emotional unavailability, emotional immaturity, the, emotional, like, kind of rash decision making, all of these things cause them to act in a way that doesn't actually align with what they deserve. And then I feel like they do regret that behavior, but they also repeat it. So it's like they do these things and then they go, oh, I really wish I didn't do that, or I wish this didn't happen, but then they do it again. And I think that that's where they then just go, well, I guess, Capricorn would just be better off without me, or like Capricorn is happier without me, because they look at themselves through this lens of like, I can't do that. Like, I can't love or be loved in a healthy way. And I think that, everybody has the potential to do that, but it does take really honest reflection and, getting real with yourself about the way that you show up in relationships and how that affects not just other people, but you as well. And I think that that's something that this person really struggles with. I feel like it's easier for them to just kind of be like, oh, well, let me just keep it at a distance. It's fine, whatever. And that's what makes you feel like they don't care. Because it's like, oh, it was so easy for them to move on, or it was so easy for them to walk away, or whatever the case is. it wasn't. I just feel like this person is very shut down emotionally, so they're not dealing with any of it. They haven't dealt with any of it. They haven't dealt with this connection. They haven't dealt with their past, and that's what kind of has them in a very emotionally stunted place. That's why they didn't show up with the level of depth that you want. It didn't have anything to do with you not being enough, or them not seeing your value, or them not, seeing you the way that you want them to. It has everything to do with them taking the easy route is what it is. If they want surface level, not necessarily because they want it, but because that's all that they're capable of. They want the depth, but they're capable of surface level, which means this, and I think that that's not really you. I feel like you bring a lot of depth, you bring a lot of warmth, you bring a lot, you want that emotional connection, and that's okay. You're allowed to want that. You also deserve to be met where you're at. This isn't about accepting where other people are at and just, tolerating that level of behavior. It's about understanding that people, everybody has a capacity to give and receive love in a certain way, and that capacity is directly dependent on somebody's level of healing and growth and emotional availability and awareness, and that's their journey. And that doesn't mean, just because somebody else isn't capable of being what you deserve, doesn't mean that the person that is capable of being what you deserve doesn't exist, because they do. The love that you deserve does exist. However, our relationships with other people are always reflecting back to us a certain aspect of our relationship with ourselves. That's where the deeper purpose comes in. When we stop looking at this from this perspective of why was I not enough for this person, and we start looking at it from this perspective of why was this attracted into my life? What is this trying to teach me? How is this trying to teach me that I'm worthy and deserving of more, not that I'm worthy and deserving of less? So I feel like there's a lot to understanding this connection. I think that this is really complicated. I do think that this person's behavior is very confusing, but I also think that one of the things you're really needing to know is that the way that they showed up in this, the way that they show up in their connections in general, the emotional kind of stuntedness aspect of it, if you want to call it. I know a lot of people, kind of call it the avoidant, right? The avoidant attachment style. That is, that's their journey, and it doesn't have anything to do with you. And I think that one of the things that I have learned, though, is when we attract avoidant partnerships into our life, or emotionally unavailable partnerships into our life, there is something that relationship is calling us to learn about ourselves, is pushing us to heal, is pushing us to grow. This person might not opt in to that healing and that growth, but the only thing that means is that they're not going to be able to receive the love that they deserve and desire. You can opt into that healing and that growth. You can look at this from this perspective of what is this trying to teach me, and that is going to lead you to the love that you deserve and desire, which is a win-win for you, right? So I feel like there's a need to kind of take a step back from this and shift perspective on it a little bit to help you on your healing and your growth journey. But I'm going to hop on over to the extended. We're going to dive deeper into this. You have growth with grief and sadness. So I'm going to look at the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align with your higher self to attract the relationships that you deserve and desire. Any information for that is in the description box below. Otherwise, thank you so much, Capricorn, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Capricorn.